So there are a lot of really fun calendar days when we celebrate things that we're happy about. So Equal Pay Day is the opposite of that. It's the day that symbolizes how much longer women typically have to work into the next year just to make the same amount of money that men were paid in the previous year. And that difference in pay is what we call the wage gap. The wage gap is not just a number, it's a way of talking about the tangible consequences that sexism and racism in our economy have on women. It's persistent from year to year, and it's pervasive across occupations, across industries, across education levels, across age. And the wage gap is caused by a number of different factors. You have gender and racial discrimination, you have workplace harassment, you have occupational segregation, and the fact that we still treat caregiving as primarily women's work while providing very little policy support for it. So women are often pushed into part-time work or spending more time out of the workforce to care for their loved ones. And all of those factors together take a huge toll over a woman's working life. So the size of the wage gap depends a little bit on who exactly you're looking at, which things you're comparing, because the factors that cause women's pay to be lower tend to affect different groups of women differently. So let's start with the full-time wage gap. Overall in 2020, which is the most recent year for which we have data, women who worked full-time year-round were paid just 83 cents for every dollar paid to a man. So in 2020, the full-time wage gap left out more than 33 million women who worked part-time or only part of the year. So that full-time wage gap, 83 cents on the dollar, actually understates a lot of the barriers that many women face, because part-time jobs not only have fewer hours, but they also tend to have lower pay, fewer benefits, and less flexibility. And the pandemic made all of that way, way worse. So all told, if you look across everyone who worked in 2020, women were paid just 73 cents for every dollar paid to a man. For Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander women, that was 75 cents, 58 cents for Black women, 50 cents for Native women, and just 49 cents for Latino women. So the wage gap is caused by systemic problems, and that means we all need to pitch in together to fix those systems. In your own workplace, you can think about advocating for pay transparency and simple but important changes like posting salary bands and job ads so people know how much they're supposed to be paid. And while you're at it, talk to your coworkers about forming a union. Pay gaps are much smaller and benefits like paid leave are more common among unionized workers. And then there are the broader changes. So let your members of Congress know that we need to pass the Paycheck Fairness Act to strengthen our equal pay laws, the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act to help ensure that pregnant workers aren't pushed out of their jobs, and invest in national paid family and medical leave and affordable childcare so that people have fewer gaps in their working histories. And we need huge investments overall in our care infrastructure so that not only people can get help with the caregiving they need to do for their families, but the people in those care jobs have good pay and benefits too. You can visit nationalpartnership.org/gap to learn more about the wage gap, including data from your own state.